Welcome back to Ghost Powered Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about the 1992 movie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, give me a break. You ruined my new jacket. Kill him a lot.
And real quick, guys, before we get into this, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, because it really does have a huge impact on this channel, and I would very much appreciate it. So last night, I was skimming through stars, and I came across Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. And I've seen it, but it had been a long time since I watched it. So it was really interesting to me when I thought about the fact that you hear about the TV show all the time, which I loved with the rest of, people my age, but nobody really talks much about the movie. And I don't really understand why. It's written by Joss Whedon, and I enjoy it as much as the TV show. It is its own thing. It doesn't really feel exactly the same, and it does have a completely different cast. But for an early 1990s movie, this is really a gem, and I'm really surprised that more people don't talk about it. It has a really great cast with Kristy Swanson, Donald Sutherland, Luke Perry, Paul Reubens, Hilary Swank. Seriously, the list goes on and on and on. It even has a young David Arquette and Rutger Hauer. Like, seriously, this is a fantastic cast, especially for an early 1990s movie. So in general, I just had a really great time watching this movie. And like I said, I had seen it, but way back in the day when I rented it from maybe Blockbuster or something like that. But I hadn't watched it in, well over 20 years. And I was just surprised on how much fun this movie really is. And for a fun, campy, cheesy, teenage vampire type of movie, how well it's actually done and how much fun it is. Because we love so much movies like The Lost Boys, and is this as good as The Lost Boys? No, I'm not saying that, but it's not that far behind. Surprisingly, it really is a good movie that I had a great time with. This movie definitely feels like that transition from the 80s into the 90s because it's early 90s, but there's still a lot of that same 80s color palette type of vibe and energy. It doesn't really quite feel 90s. It does feel more like that colorful, bright, flamboyant 80s feel that a lot of the 80s movies had. So Kristy Swanson is really the star of this movie in more ways than one. So I'm sure a lot of the stunts were done by a stunt double, but you can't tell me she didn't still do a lot of the physical stunt work, because you can see her face clearly in a lot of really amazing shots doing all kinds of gymnastic work and fighting scenes and just a lot of cool stuff. And I'm sorry, but she was incredibly hot in this movie. And yeah, she's supposed to play a teenager, but she was not a teenager, which is one of my bones to pick with a lot of the movies from the 80s and 90s, and this movie is no exception. Because the cast, who's all supposed to be teenagers, they're all well into their 20s. There's none of them that are really teenagers, and it really stands out in a lot of the parts of this movie as well as a lot of the 90s and 80s movies. Which I understand why it was hard to get teens because of the legalities and stuff. It was expensive, time consuming, it was just difficult to do. But it's something that we do a lot better now, and I do appreciate that, because at the very least, we get actors that look that age. Like back then, these girls were so developed and hot, like all these cheerleaders, and it's ridiculous to think that these are supposed to be 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Like, I've never known any 16, 17, 18-year-olds to all look like this. There isn't one of, like, the skinny pigeons in the bunch. Come on, guys. And granted, there are some people that do develop early, but to have the whole entire cast all look like they're well into their 20s, it's just kind of funny. But it's not a huge deal. It's just something I wanted to point out. But you don't go into this movie expecting anything fantastic. Although Donald Sutherland and Rutger Hauer both do really good jobs in this movie, it's not about the acting, it's not about the story. This is a fun, campy, 80s, 90s, action, horror, kind of silly teenage vampire kind of movie. But if you enjoy that junk food kind of nostalgic stuff like I do, and especially if you're someone who's my age, who looks fondly at the early 90s when you were still a teenager and whatnot, then I think you'll have a great time with this. But either way, I'm talking about this, to be honest, because I just had a great time with this. I don't know how many of you will actually watch this video, but I know personally I had a great time with this movie, and I just wanted to do a little review about this. So I'd love to know down in the comments what you guys think of this movie, if you saw this growing up, or if you're younger now and you go back and you watch it, whatnot. I just would love to know if I'm alone on this island, or if this is a really fun movie that does deserve to be talked about more. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me today. Please hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this at least 2 times every week. I also want to give a huge thank you to my patrons, because your support means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember guys, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.
Buffy, you're not like other girls.
Yes, I am.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.